it was just this perfect merging of two guys' special moves, two guys' finishers, two guys, the things that I don't want to say we do it without thinking, but it's just something we can do confidently. There's so many ways to think about it, but I mean, when you get that moment that gets people to jump up off their chair, jump out of their seat, it reminds me of the moments that got me to do that when I was young. Like there was that time Taz and Bam Bam, like Taz had Bam Bam in the choke and they went through the entranceway, boom, boom, like through the elevated entranceway. I mean, everybody jumps out of their seat. When Undertaker threw Mankind off the Hell in a Cell, all my friends that I was watching that, which everybody jumps up and starts screaming. So essentially every time I wrestle, every single match, AEW, Dark, main events on paper, whatever it is, that's the moment I'm going for. Is that one moment where everything stops and like everybody is, all the attention, all the energy is right there in that one spot. And we did it that night. I mean, I didn't even realize that I had done that maybe once or twice before. I think Alex Shelley gave it to me one year at a PWG Battle of Los Angeles, 2006 or 2007. He and I did Shooting Star and he gave me basically a cutter, but it was just with Randy in the WWE, it was just such a special moment because that RKO had been established and he was the master of it. And people had seen it from all these different angles, but nobody expected this one to happen. I came in, I fly to the ring, full fire, kick him in the head and go up, and everybody expects the Shooting Star press. And in fact, the camera works so good. They focus in this really tight shot on me on the turnbuckle. You almost forget that Randy Orton's laid out on the ground. You just see me climb up and you see right when I jump, then they cut to the shot where there's Randy as he's flying up into the air and catches me. I mean, it really still pulls people out of their seat. And like ESPN posts that on their Instagram. And of course they don't tag me, but yeah, when they post that, like tons of people end up saying, "Hey Matt, check out this." And like, it's cool that it gets people going. And, because there were just moments like that connected me to wrestling. And I think that's what I'm always going for. For me, it was never about like, I want to be the champion. I need to be the person that everybody loves and adores. I just wanted to like reach through the screen and grab people, whether it's by their head or their heart, whatever it was that like, when you're 16 and you're watching wrestling and it just connects on this level that, a therapist wouldn't be able to give you the kind of support that wrestling gave me. And I think just, that's the connection I'm looking for to bring people into the sport I love. And it's a way to share, like you can show people that clip and it might make them excited about seeing a wrestling match that night, and that's what I want to be, as a good ambassador for the business and the sport. And like, that's what wrestling is today.
It's surprising though, to hear that wasn't the original spot, that hadn't been done. Like you had done that before. I don't think a lot of people would realize that. Yeah.
Well, what's even worse is that I think the first time I saw it get nailed was M-Dog 20, who does a Shooting Star press as well. Matt Cross.
Yeah.
Him and B-Boy did it on an IWA Mid-South show I was on. And I was like, oh my God, that was awesome. And this loop, we happened to be in Ohio and Matt was doing Tough Enough, I think at the time. So he was an extra. And so we were in like Dayton, or we were in Columbus on Sunday, and I was talking to him about it. And I said, oh yeah, man, hey, if I ever get in there, if I ever have a feud with Randy Orton, I want to do Shooting Star into the cutter. And he goes, yeah, that's awesome. You should totally do it. The next day, I think I even told Randy about it on Sunday, that Sunday night. Then on Monday, this is how wrestling happens, 24 hours. Then on Monday, turns out me and Randy have a segment. And I say, anybody want to do this Shooting Star press RKO? And there was some doubts from, management that it was humanly possible or physically possible, but it was just this perfect merging of two guys' special moves, two guys' finishers, two guys, the things that I don't want to say we do it without thinking, but it's just something we can do confidently. And I jumped and, there's no control. So basically I'm jumping, and if he's there, I'm going to land on him. And if he jumps up and gives me a cutter, I'm taking a cutter. To me, I have to basically do the same leap and dive. And then just as I've come through, like kind of as my head clears where I'd be able to see the ground and my opponent, it's just instantly getting caught and just hitting the ground. So I don't really have like this visual image of it. And so I've done quite a few shooting star presses in my life.
Yeah.
The easy version, the safest one, is where there's a crash pad. Okay. Landing on a big opponent. That's easy. Give me a guy who's 200, 300 pounds. I kind of land on him and bounce off, and it's not too bad. The worst landing is going belly out and just smacking, like doing a belly flop into a pool. But instead of a pool, it's a wrestling ring, which hurts a lot more. And then so this one was, I would say, like the highest level of pain degree, because I also had the extra downward gravity of it. But I did land basically what would be the best way to land it. You just belly out and eat it. And that's why I just laid there after. Sometimes I have a lot of energy and I'm selling very energetically. On that one, I just ate it and there's no wind left in me. There was nothing. So I just laid there like a fish, like, oh.
Did Randy think this was possible when you presented the idea to him?
Yeah. I mean, basically he didn't even hesitate. He's, well, yeah, it'd be cool. Like if we could do it, like, you know, and I just said it's possible. And it's really like, it's a challenge for him to like jump up at the right time. And it requires a very high level of athleticism and timing, but like Randy's not like, that's not going to be hard for him. He is athleticism and timing. So it was, it just all fell into place that one weekend, like right there and wherever it was, Ohio or you know, that for me, it's like, it doesn't matter where it happened or when. It's just that we did it. And like, I gave the fans something to remember, because once I do it, for me, my pleasure is in the doing it. I want to paint this picture. I painted it. Me and Randy painted it. We signed off on it. And now it's for everybody else. It's yours. If you want to GIF it and like put a little dead fish instead of me doing it, or people want to turn it into, it's for them. Like we make this art for everybody else. The making of it is where that's where I'm myself, my highest self, my best self. But after it's done, it's for everybody else. So that's the same way when I slip on the rope. Like that's not what I was trying to do, but now it's for everybody else. I'm not going to get too hung up on it anymore. But if people like make me relive it and rehash it all the time, I'll be okay. You know,
did you guys practice this? Like, did you go over this, or was what we saw live was it?
Yeah, I mean, what you saw live was it. I mean, there's really no way to practice. I mean, I can't belly out like that in practice.
Hey, buddy.
It would be too dangerous. Hey, Leo. Hey, pal, can you give me just a minute? Go back to Miss Stefanko's class, would you? Yeah, he's a good student. Education's number one. It's okay. So, no, there's really no way to rehearse it. I mean, Randy had to I wanted to see, you know, kind of see how he'd get up for it. But I mean, there's no way to walk that through. But we did, I think there was like something for the cameras. We may have done something so that the way they can get the cameras right for it. And the truth is, this move would not have had the same impact if it had been filmed differently, if they had different camera angles, if they had done so. Like wrestling is really important, but I've always thought that the wrestlers, as the boys, we do our jobs. We have bangers every night, live event on TV, we kill it. But there was something lost in the translation to the viewers. I don't know if you were a big ECW fan, but was that
of course.
But there was something about ECW that made it feel more raw and real and brought it home to you. And so I think we connected with it. It involved us a little bit more. And I sort of think sometimes the WWE shows you the whole picture. So sometimes you see everything. And so that's almost too much. But when you narrow the frame, they narrowed the frame right on me. So all you're thinking is Airborne's going to jump. He's going to jump. And you forget that Randy's there. And he's not unconscious. All he did was take one kick. So when I jump, then Randy basically comes from out of frame, thus the out of nowhere, and does it. So we executed the move, but it took a whole team, cameramen, the guys in the back, the producer of the segment. So it's like, I get glory for taking that RKO, but really it's a team effort. And I mean, like, it goes all the way back to my parents letting me save up my money to buy me a trampoline when I was a kid. Like it was not just me out there doing that. It was like the accumulation of all the work I've put in, all the work Randy's put in, all the work the producers put in, and we just made magic that night. And I know that we're hunting for that forever. I mean, that's a feeling that you just don't want to leave as a one-off. You want to just keep running back to it.
That's very humble of you to include everybody, because unfortunately, a lot of people don't realize all the cameramen that are there, or the producers behind the scenes, or the director who's calling the cuts to make sure that it cuts properly. That's really great of you to be able to show that appreciation to all of them.
Yeah, well, I mean, like it's something that I really study, like media and its effects, and like the difference between TVs and movies and how things are shot. And it's beautiful. They have these super close ups. So it wasn't, you didn't just see me after I took the fall. You didn't just see my body there. You saw my face. And then it goes to Randy's face, and he's in this wild celebration. And it's an energy that people pick up on. I mean, like there's always these things. We talk about psychology in wrestling. We talk about these, but it's all underneath the surface. It's like these real raw feelings that wrestling's able to elicit and people connect with. And like when you can surprise people on TV, and it's not a horror movie and you're not scaring them with gore or like just disgusting violence, it was like a stunt, I guess. It was a stunt that really brought people right to that moment, right where they were at. And what I love about that moment is people stood up and high-fived their friends and like grabbed the person next to them and shook them. And that creates this bonding experience between the family, the same way me and my brothers watch wrestling. Every people and their friends do it. It's like, that's what's special about it. Like me doing a flip, I can't pat myself on the back too much for it. But to create a moment where like families still like laugh about it, like, you know, maybe they did say, oh, he flopped like a fish. Isn't that funny? Oh, fishy Bourne. So, you know, just whatever inside joke you can create from that.
Yeah.
That's what's special about it. Like when me and my brothers still do D'Lo Brown promos. I mean, like D'Lo Brown might not have been as big of a star as The Rock, but to us, it felt like he was. To us in these moments, it's just as deeply connected as a guy who sold millions of dollars in merchandise. And so that's why it's like, if I don't sell $1 million in merchandise by doing that match, like it to me, it wasn't about, it's never been about doing it for money. I still can't believe people pay me to wrestle. I mean, I've been working hard at it, so it makes sense now, but my whole career, I thought I would have to work a regular job and just wrestle as my hobby. And just the fact that I was able to turn what I loved into what I do to get paid, and then to like have a moment where the collective world of wrestling's eyes are on me. Like I'm just a kid. I just grew up in the suburbs in St. Louis. Nobody ever told me I'd be anything special or do anything monumental like that. And it's wild to go back and think about that I've had this sweet effect on pro wrestling.